King Jaguar Man and Caleo Ronson, February 27th, 2012. I praise the soul in a world of all chaos, in a part of what we see, in a part of often ways. I bridge the sun in a world of all chaos. 6 days after my mycospawn experience with River in the forest, I wrote the lyrics for what became the first song, Chaos Talk, on my post-Purple and Green 4-song EP, entitled The Dark Forest of King Jaguar Man. The concept of the EP is that deep in a jungle there is a King Jaguar Man, a jaguar-headed humanoid who wears fancy white tuxedos and drives a flashy white convertible. He reigns king over a village of indigenous humans from whom he keeps advanced technologies a secret. This track, Chaos Talk, introduces King Jaguar Man as he sings about how he pulled off what he did and became ruler over all the humans. King Jaguar Man was a complicated figure. He was one who rose up from nothing, but he was also one who oppressed others just as he had once been oppressed. Chaos Talk was just what it sounds like, speaking of the chaos that consumed the immediate universe of King Jaguar Man. March 27th, 2012. You challenge me to drink your PB. I fall asleep. I fall asleep. You think I am being mean. Well, obviously I fall asleep. You think your games will strengthen me. Not probably. A fallacy. Your novelties are calling me. Not listening. Reminiscing. You think I'm some strange key. Well, what do you want from me? Caleo Ronson. The dark forest of King Jaguar Man came from a growing mentality of mine, one that came with a disapproval of most of my peers, even a few who had been close friends at one point. I watched as the lot of them opted for the collective competitive binge drinking of brews. The result was usually a minimization of interesting conversation in exchange for cheap banter and distant interaction. Of course, there was a time and place for this, but it bothered me that some of my friends never wanted to hang out one-on-one, or even just as a smaller group. Why couldn't we just consume green power and talk about far-out ideas? So I became increasingly disenchanted and aware of my distance. The mycospawn, DSL, and Salvarada had indeed given me an accelerated ability that put me in a different realm of consciousness than my peers. When I say my peers, I don't mean close ones like River, or Thomas of course, but a great lot of my formers were slippery eels at this point, and the people I had never made friends with in the first place. They were mostly simple New Englanders, caught up in the basic culture of New England sports teams, pop culture, and a walk here and there with their dogs. The very thought of mycospawn and DSL consumption to them was a crazy weird thing to do, bad without question, and I'm still not sure what some of these people made of me. I had, after all, turned out to be successful with school and sports, despite my relatively heavy green power consumption. The real rift came in April when a former pro basketball player named Caleo Ronson came to our school to speak about his past of destructive addictions to certain powers, namely the ones that had the biggest reputation for life ruination, the white stones and needle sex. Of course, any time anyone goes down the road of needle sex addiction, it is a terrible thing, and I would never touch the stuff, but I had a problem with Caleo Ronson, concluding that all powers were bad then, even the green power. There was no nuance to this guy, and it bothered me, because I knew for sure that people could be responsible green power users without following the path towards needle sex. It took a certain type of person and life situation for that to happen, and just because someone like me enjoyed green power, mycospawn, and DSL, didn't mean that I would one day go down the ruinous path. I will admit that I let myself try the white sands, yes, but I knew that it was something one could try once in a small amount with minimal repercussions. I ended up hating it anyway. So in my petty audacity, I posted on Basefook saying that I wanted to ask Caleo Ronson at the assembly if he had ever tried Mycospawn or DSL, and what those experiences were like, or if he ever had any addiction problems with those powers. I faced a cyber attack in the form of an entourage of emotionally charged statements, as if to say, "How dare you, Steverino, post such a careless thought in light of what people have been through?" One person named Duke Hernandez posted, "Tomorrow isn't about you, dude," while a girl who I had once had a close relationship with said, "Maybe you shouldn't go tomorrow." I couldn't believe it. I had made a simple point that I wanted to know more about Caleo Ronson's experiences with those powers, because I was sure that if he tried them, his life would be better, and he would be even less inclined to go back to the needle sex. Instead, the popular wellness club kids, who happened to have a central part in the assembly, encouraged me not to attend, especially if I planned on opening up the discussion around Mycospawn and DSL. It was hypocritical for someone who was going to be one of the 10 kids placed in the middle of the gym during the assembly to say that the assembly wasn't about me. He had inherently then made it about himself, as if a portion of it wasn't already, and telling me I shouldn't go. My God, if you actually cared about educating those with power problems via a school assembly, would you really shun a known power user from said event? The sheer lack of self-awareness was indeed troubling. Come time for the assembly, I sat and waited for what I expected. Caleo Ronson would tell his tale of what started as green power use and evolved into a ruthless needle sex addiction, and we'd all applaud him for his bravery in opening up to us and helping to spread the word. Here's how Caleo's path went, if I'm not mistaken. He started consuming green power with his friends in high school, like so many others, but soon enough, green power wasn't enough for him, and he got into Roxy Otter, a pharmaceutical version of the needle sex effect. Once he ran out of Roxy Otter suppliers, he turned to the white stones, which were larger, rockier versions of the white sands one consumed using the application of heat. Most living, breathing people knew that the white stones were a one-way ticket to losing teeth and degenerating into a zombie corpse, but Caleo went there anyway, because of his addictive behaviour. Then this turned into a needle sex addiction, something which almost killed him. A common enough narrative in New England, but it was good that we had a former pro athlete to tell us about it. During the Q&A, a kid asked if green power was a gateway power, to which he replied, "Do you think all of those white stones users started with white stones? Now you tell me, do you think I could say that the green power is not a gateway power?" He was right about at least one thing. Of course, not all white stones users started with white stones, and rather most likely started with the green power, but what he didn't seem to understand was that plenty more green power users have never touched the white stones in their lives. Of course, the benevolent and relatively harmless nature of the green power may indicate to some people that other powers may also have the same features, which some do, but it's a mistake of the misguided to think that all powers are good simply in virtue of the green power's greatness. He should have said, all white stones users are probably, or at least once were, green power users, but not even close to all green power users become white stone dropouts and needle sex addicts. I later understood that it was indeed a school event, and even if he thought green power was okay, he couldn't really promote it at a high school. But one has to understand how much I wanted my truth to be revealed, the truth for all successful, responsible green power users. Green power is beneficial if used correctly, and still relatively harmless even if abused. Those who move on to the destructive powers are no longer satisfied by what green power brings, and look for something more debilitating. Responsible green power users know that green power is more than enough as a common use power, and that we are in fact blessed that the universe has created something as optimal as the green power. I kept my mouth shut at the assembly as I kept in mind that in 2 months or so I'd be done with that place and those people. April 11th, 2012. Intuition. We all know you have the right to feel the way you do tonight. Our problems are of no concern. We wish we knew the way you learn. We're transparent. We're overdone. We think we know the ways of fun. But what we see is basically only the things that we wish we could be. You know all with precision. You trust your intuition. You must feel so alive, 'cause all you do is think and drive. This severed space is all a lie, a trick to make us pout and cry. But why should we deceive our lives? Why don't we just make it right? This foolish space, it makes us sick. It makes us feel the scratch of the prick. Oh, why don't we destroy the lines? It's time to close these endless minds. Just lock us in, push us back. Have no faith in all our track. Breathe unbearably the same. A life full of pity and shame. May 1st, 2012. Slip to the right place. We're mixing it up again. Set your own pace, making it right again. Pictures in the right place. I'm using my sight again. Love into the side space. We're making it right again. May 3rd, 2012. Envision your distaste. Know it goes with waste. It's on the sunny days. You know that all is okay. You want a summertime space. So you lift up your face. It's not a common slate, but it's just what it takes. May 7th, 2012. King Jaguar Man. Hey there, Mr. Jaguar Man. You rule all us little men. From the famous Jaguar land, you offered to take a stand. He has mighty jaguar hands, scratching all his favourite bands, eating all the farmers' lambs, and trading him some yams. Hey there, Mr. Jaguar Man. You don't have to take a stand. Sit there with your jaguar hands making all the better plans. When you find a fallacy in all of your masterpiece, you don't try to stop and think. Your mind goes to sleep. May 21st, 2012. Wonder Key. You found the wonder key. You found a part of me. You want to fall asleep. You fall into your dreams. Famous wonder key. You always follow me. You always know the scene. You are the wonder seed. Seems all the time we need picks at the pocket seams. But how can we break free? Move on to fonder seas. I need the wonder key. To find a better peace. It makes me fall asleep and find the better dreams. May 22nd, 2012. Cryptics. We're off along the breeze, following all our instincts. Past fusions made in peace, but not without disease. You talk so obviously. Make fun of plastic teams. Till we find our honesty, how do we escape the sheets? Where can we find our older seeds? Because we have the need to know what this world means. It's all safer than it might seem. Learning the cryptics of your dreams. I don't remember much of that May, but I finished writing The Dark Forest of King Jaguar Man with the songs King Jaguar Man and Wonder Key. The former is written from the perspective of a villager who calls out King Jaguar Man for all of his flaws and excess, while the latter is the confession from King Jaguar Man himself that the village people had defeated him when they discovered his secret power, as they were then able to utilize it for themselves to rule as wealthy equals. It was all weirdly creative, though ultimately vague in its symbolic meaning. It was an odd time for me. I was more or less alone in my confidence that The Dark Forest of King Jaguar Man would be a hit, and I felt more and more like I was about to break up with my girlfriend sooner than later. I felt our relationship ultimately had little depth, and that I would inevitably find someone who was more my cup of tea in college. I thought I might as well spare us the additional emotional turmoil and get it over with. I wasn't going to do it yet, but probably sometime after graduation, so that I wouldn't have to see her in school. I felt very conflicted about it, as I realized that I could be throwing away a different path in life that would have turned into something amazing. but I also knew I truly didn't believe in that happening.